Subscribe, like, comment and share to support the channel. Thank you for the support. Sukus grew nervous at the sight of the gigantic golem that stood before them. He prepares himself for the upcoming battle, but Tunisa appears by his side and tells him to move aside. She lifted her staff in the air and it showed off a bright blue light that catches the golem's attention. She then begins to cast a spell that was gathering all the rocks and stones around her, as she stood before the giant golem with her staff raised. A giant pile of rocks and stones soon towered above the giant golem as well, but a blue light started to appear in the giant golem's head. Carmen immediately spots the unusual blue light with his eyes. He shouts at Tunisa that it was dangerous and that once she casted her spell, she needed to get out of the way. The light coming from the giant golem started to shine even more brightly as time went by. The light soon began to float out from the giant golem's head, and soon shot itself up into the air like a laser beam. The three boys were alarmed to see this sight. It turns out that it was an actual laser beam. The giant golem had aimed it into the ceiling right above from where Tunisa stood. The sudden destruction of the ceiling causes her to look upwards as well. Sensing that her attention was elsewhere, the giant golem took this chance to take a swing at her, and its attack landed successfully as blood was splattered all around from where Tunisa was standing before. Sukus could do nothing as he watched in horror while Tunisa became just a pile of blood and bones. Having seen her killed right in front of him caused Sukus to remain frozen in fear. The giant golem seized this as another chance to strike. Marnak could see what was going to happen next, so he shouts at Sukus to get down. But it was too late. Sukus was hit directly onto the right side of his entire body. The powerful blow sends Sukus flying into the walls as Marnak shouts out Sukus' name. Sukus had died from just a single blow that the giant golem gave. His eyes remained open as he remained stuck into the wall as his blood flowed everywhere. All that's left in the room now was two members of the party and the giant golem. Marnak then asks Carmen if he wanted to live. Carmen was confused by the question, so Marnak asks him again. Carmen hesitated for a moment but tells Marnak that he wanted to live. In response, Marnak tells him to better tuck his chin in. Just as his fist was raised, Carmen continued to be confused by what was going on. Just as Marnak's fist appeared right below his chin, Carmen's vision soon started to close, much to his surprise. Marnak held onto the knocked-out Carmen's body. He was glad that at least he had a giant on his side too. Since he was in a hurry, he told Mother that he didn't have time for prayers. He tells her that she needed to send it down now. Our very own Gundam white monster soon appears from a portal. Even the giant golem was surprised to see a massive white thing appear right above its head. Look at those thick arms from our giant white boy. It sticks its hands together in the air, and sends down a heavy hammer punch towards the giant golem's head. Look at how happy it is. As the clash of the titans began their fight, Marnak started to move as well. He looks back and noted that the giant was always dependable to call upon. He then asks Mother if she thought the same. Guess what she replied him with? That's right, murder. Marnak was busy collecting the divinity from his fallen comrades. Tunisa allowed him to obtain 10,000 divinity. Sukus allowed him to obtain 100 divinity. Carmen remained unconsciousness as he laid back against the wall, but something was bothering Marnak. He continues to watch the clash of the titans, but was bothered over the fact that it looked like it was going to take some time for them to finish their battle. Murder, said Mother as she opens his cape a bit. Marnak understood what she said and agreed with her suggestion. He activates the tattoo skill, telling Mother that she was right. He needed to stop messing around and help out. Even the giant white monster was surprised to see Marnak's actions. He quickly dashes towards the titan. His target was the giant golem, specifically the thing that was stuck into its head, the blue gem. The giant white monster took notice of Marnak's actions and placed an arm up to help him. This brings a smile to his face. He leaps onto the giant white monster's back thanks to its arm. He noted that since the blue gem was the only part of the giant golem's body that was different, if he manages to destroy it, then Marnak was sure that something was bound to happen. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, Marnak leaps into the air with his sword in hand. The giant golem's blue gem could only reflect his reflection as it sees Marnak charging towards it. With a single swing of his blade, Marnak manages to smash the blue gem to pieces. Our boy once again lands onto the ground with enough strength to smash it to bits as well. Makes you wonder how much he weighs. The giant golem soon started to shut down as the blue gem was no longer stuck onto its head. Our giant white monster also lets out a victory roar. Marnak turns to look at it and thanks it for the help this time. But Mother points out something to Marnak. He looks at her and wonders what was wrong. More portal. You get a portal. You get a portal. Started to appear, which summons even more of the same giant golem. Our boy watches this unfold in front of his very eyes, which made he feel defeated. The giant golems were now fully summoned and had done a superhero landing just like the first giant golem. Both Marnak and the giant white monster soon felt that shit had hit the fan as the giant golems started to approach them. Marnak continues to hold a defeated and depressed look on his face, asking how many more of the giant golems were there. The scene changes to when Carmen had woken up from his beauty sleep. He asks Marnak about Tunisa and Suku's. He replies to him that they were both dead. Marnak tells him that he would have saved them if he had the chance. However, he didn't get the chance to since it happened too quickly. Carmen then talks about how the moment the giant golem fell from the ceiling, they needed to activate the key. He talked about how Tunisa and Suku's were people whom he had just met as they were recent hires, but had both died due to his greed. Marnak comforts him by telling him that Tunisa and Suku's were both hired for a reason. They were fully aware that this could have happened, so Carmen shouldn't blame himself too much. Carmen then asks Marnak about where exactly they were. Marnak tells him that they were beyond the black door. Carmen was alarmed to hear that and was about to question just how it was possible, but then he stopped himself from asking Marnak. He recalled that it wouldn't be right for him to ask about something that Marnak was willing to knock him out in order to prevent him from seeing. Carmen then asks Marnak if he was his lifesaver too. Carmen then pledges according to the name of Valtis that he would surely repay this debt. Marnak smiles and tells him that he would look forward to it. This reaction made Carmen laugh as it showed that Marnak never passes up on offers. Marnak then tells him that he usually just accepts most people's offers. Marnak then tells Carmen that they better move since he was feeling better and because he didn't actually defeat the giant golems but had decided to just run away from them. Carmen then stood up and tells him that they should go. Marnak recalls what he just said, that after defeating a single giant golem with the help of the corruption giant, an additional 3 fell from the ceiling. So our boy did the only logically thing we would all do. He let the corruption giant get beaten up by them. Damn, our boy is pure evil. Comment below if you would do the same. After Marnak barely managed to open the doors, he kicked Carmen into the room. Marnak was worried about the corruption giant since he told it to return once he was finished. He just hopes that it was not that angry with him. After walking for a while, Marnak looks up with a happy expression on his face. He informs Carmen that they had reached the end of the ruins. Carmen was amazed by the new sight, so Marnak tells him to feel free to take a look. The final doors of the dungeon soon opened. Inside were 2 floating items in the air. It was a chainsaw sword and a necklace. The stories from the books were real, shouted Carmen as they saw the items. Carmen then calls out to Marnak knowing that he didn't have the right to this but still asked him for a favor. He asks Marnak if he would let him have the necklace as he would be sure to pay him handsomely for it. Marnak smiles and asks him what the necklace was anyways. Carmen explains to him that the necklace is called the Bloodline Pathfinder. If you spilled some blood onto the necklace and think of a specific bloodline that you're trying to look for, the necklace will use your blood as a cost to point you in the direction of the bloodline you're thinking of. Hearing the words bloodline made it clear to Marnak about what the general idea Carmen has right now. Carmen reveals his true intentions to Marnak as he was sure that he knew of his plans. He tells Marnak that he was currently looking for Mother, whom he had never met before. This brings a smile to Marnak's face. He then asks Carmen about whether he could take the sword in exchange. Time flies by as a campfire is seen. Carmen tells Marnak that for the time being, he would prefer it if he could avoid any block of stone bigger than him. Marnak agrees with him due to their horrible experience with the giant golem. They recalled the past, thinking that if they had delayed things even for a moment, then those giant golems would have gotten to him. Carmen tells Marnak that he thought that they were going to die. He soon removes the necklace from his neck. He then calls out to Marnak, asking him if he would be so kind as to give him a blessing. Marnak smiles and agrees to his request straight away. Carmen closed his eyes as Marnak gave him a blessing. Once the blessing had ended, Carmen pricks his finger with a small knife till a blood drop could be seen. Marnak tells him that may the goddess of preservation protect him. Carmen then places his finger over the necklace. He lets a drop of his own blood drop onto the necklace. This causes a reaction to occur as red streaks appear in the air above them. Carmen couldn't believe what he was seeing as he gazes back onto the necklace. The blood was pointing to a certain direction. After dropping his blood onto the necklace, it turned into sort of like a compass that was pointing to his mother. Carmen noted that he always knew that his mother was alive. Marnak tells him that he was glad that the necklace was working as expected. Carmen went on to wear the necklace once again, telling Marnak that it was only thanks to him and that he wonders how he can repay this debt. Marnak tells him that whenever it may be, he will be ready to accept it with gratitude. Carmen then asks him if he would please listen to one last favor of his. Marnak agrees, to which Carmen then asks him if it was possible for them to continue to work together until he finds his mother. He explains to Marnak that since he was heading to the west anyway, they could visit the capital where he could reward him for this job. Carmen was excited as he ensures Marnak that he would pay for all the travel expenses. This brings a smile to our poor boy. Marnak thought about how he would love to accept, but knew that Carmen had seen through his intentions immediately. Time went by as Marnak still hadn't replied back to Carmen. He soon grows nervous over the lack of response. Marnak had planned to delay his response so that he wouldn't be regarded as shallow, but after a while he grabs onto Carmen's hand, telling him that he was fine with helping him till they find his mother. Marnak assures him that he would support him in his journey. Carmen was happy to hear this and thanks him for the help. "So you're leaving now, just like that? After everything that I've done for you?" said Erin with an upset face. She yells at our boy that she couldn't believe it. She then tells him to give his hand. Erin explains to him that it usually doesn't come out this quickly, but she had made sure to do everything so that she could get it ready in time. Marnak looks at the item that she had given him. She tells him that it was the silver mercenary plate. She repeats back to Marnak that she had done everything to ensure that it was ready as soon as possible. She then asks if he knew what to say to her now. "Thank you," said Marnak, but Erin tells him that he was wrong. It was supposed to be "see you soon," as it meant something like a promise that he would visit her again. "That's what you should be saying." Hearing those words from her made mother angry and annoyed, but all Marnak could think of was apologizing to Erin. Since he had decided to live the life of a vagabond, the promise she wanted from him would be one that he couldn't fulfill. Erin soon gives advice to Marnak, telling him that if he keeps living his life like this, he'll never get a date and die alone. But she soon tells him something that catches his attention. "See you soon," Erin said with her face blushing hard. Marnak was confused by her words as she continues to tell him that they will see each other again if they got the chance, but she admits that the opportunity may come a lot faster than he would expect. Marnak then asks her by what she meant by that. Placing her fingers on his lips, Erin tells him that he didn't need to know, but just needed to keep thinking about it, since this is the last thing she'll be giving to him as a punishment. The scene changes to a different building where Marnak talked about how the side effects seem to have taken effect much faster. A shiny orb is seen as a man laughs out loud. He tells Marnak that people were born without hair anyways. "My bad, it wasn't a shiny orb, but the bald head of our demon Tradon." He smiles as he tells Marnak that he had merely reached a truer form of human nature, but he soon changes the topic, asking Marnak if he was heading to the capital, and that he had made sure to get things ready after hearing the news. Marnak was then handed a letter of recommendation. Tradon explains that he would have given him cash, but as Marnak was well aware of, he had to use up all the funds to repair the damages in GUIs, so Tradon didn't have any money to spare right now. He then explains that since Marnak was heading to the capital, Tradon had written him a letter of recommendation. If anything were to happen, Tradon was sure that Marnak would be able to get help from a friend of his. However, he warns him that they were pretty hard to deal with, and suggested that he refrains from visiting them unless absolutely necessary. Marnak then thanks him for the gift. Tradon tells him to think of it as a form of gratitude from a friend of his. Tradon smiles and wishes our boy to have a wonderful life, because when it comes to life, it is always too short. The scene changes once again to reveal that our boys Marnak and Carmen were now traveling together through the snowy land. Carmen informs Marnak that it had been a few days since they left GUIs. He happily shares that it seems that they have about half a day until they reach the next town called Kelton. But just as he was talking, Mother shouted murder. Marnak hits his chest, thinking about how it seems like Mother still doesn't like Carmen that much. However, the only reason why she accepts Marnak traveling with him was because Carmen was a human rated 3.5 fingers. If Marnak manages to harvest from him, Carmen would be able to give him 10,000 divinity, that was worth an authority, with potential to develop into a human worth 4 fingers. But personally to Marnak, he likes the cheerful personality that Carmen has and wishes to keep him alive. But as they continue to travel, Marnak soon senses that something was off. He takes out his brand new weapon, the chainsaw blade from the ruins. Carmen sees this and wonders what was going on. He questions Marnak about what was wrong. "Blood," replied Marnak as he prepares himself for a fight, telling Carmen that it was very close, and that it was coming towards them. As soon as Marnak raises his blade, an explosion is caused from beneath them. A giant spider is seen floating in the air right above the boys. It soon lands upon the top of the nearby trees. The boys looked at it and soon realizes what it was. It was a snow spider, just like the ones from Australia, I'm guessing. The snow spider soon started the fight by spitting out something from its mouth. Carmen sees this coming and counterattacks with his own arrow shots towards it, But our boy Marnak ain't a side character, so he charges in close to the snow spider and slices it apart with his chainsaw blade. Even the snow spider was shocked to see what was happening to it. A piece of its body scene flies away and lands behind Marnak and the snow spider. Our boy was getting turned on as he tells the snow spider that the next time he uses this sword, he'll have to look for a place to clean it up beforehand. Our boy finally unleashes his green vibes energy. With another swing of his chainsaw blade, he cuts through the snow spider like tofu. With one more strike upwards, he tells the snow spider that the chainsaw blade splatters too much blood and flesh. Thanks for watching the latest part from the voice of Manhwa. Subscribe for more content and don't forget to comment below what you want to see in the future. Like and share for more.